Okay, so I've done the little mini review of the Tenacity Wong Trials bike. I figure I should go over the wife's bike as well. What this one is, it's just a little 150 air cooled. So a 2016 CRF150f. So nothing special. We have done a fair bit to it though. So color obviously right off the bat, that was new this year just for something to change it up. It was mostly, well, pretty much everything you see here that has this wrap was white plastic, and they were getting pretty scuffed and pretty rough looking. So I did a wrap on it, and I'm just realizing I'm missing one of the screws there. So I don't know if I didn't put it back in or if it's fallen out. Anyways, it's been a good little bike. On the back, we went to a different tire with a stiffer sidewall and a heavy-duty tube. We did do a little light kit on it. This is not stock. Little tail light / brake light. Tail light's hooked up. The brake light isn't yet, as you can see here. It's just kind of dangling and not hooked up. As for mods, you can see the spring in there, the red spring. That is almost double the spring rate of the stock spring. So basically, it makes this suitable for an adult to ride it. And that made a world of difference on this bike. I'm a big guy, and I have a lot of fun on this little bike. It carts me around okay. It's peppy enough in the single track. Ground clearance isn't horrible, given it's just a little 150. But to make sure we're not damaging it, we did put a Moose Racing aluminum skid plate on it. And that has some significant scarring on the bottom of it when we take it off for oil changes, so it has definitely helped. The foot pegs, these are JFG Racing. I've actually put the same ones on the Trials bike with some modifications, but these have been pretty good. This side specifically has taken a beating. It's hit some rocks pretty hard, and it's actually held up okay. So quite happy with them. They're an Amazon special. Replaceable cleats on them, just like some of the more expensive ones. But honestly, for the money, for the 50 bucks, give or take, depending on who you buy them through, can't go wrong with those. They're a great foot peg. That's actually 3 sets of those we've had now on 3 different bikes. This bike, the front end was very twitchy in the sand. So the very glaring and obvious upgrade that we made on the front here is the tire. That is actually only a 19-inch rim, but that is actually a rear Trials tire on the front of this bike with a heavy-duty tube, and we only run about 10 psi. It adds a little bit of suspension, and it calms the front end of this thing right down to the point that it was almost felt lethargic. Very slow turning, which isn't a horrible thing when you get used to it. But one more change we made this year, and we had to do it because we bent 2 sets of bars last year. These bars are a little bit higher and they're a little bit narrower, and with them tipped forward like that, it actually goes right back to very similar to the stock feeling as far as how quickly it turns, but it still feels very planted in the sand because of that wide front tire. So definitely, if these bars hold up, I'll be happy with them, because it certainly transformed the bike again, you know, version like 8.0 of this bike. So again, the lights weren't stock on this. I did get them. They're just LEDs. I did get them wired in. Of course, we went bark busters. Another thing I would recommend for anybody with a cable clutch, and we're actually just talking to a friend about this yesterday, is this little box right here. What this is a clutch pull reduction box would be the best way to describe it. It uses leverage to lighten the pull, but as a result, with the old clutch, the stock clutch, see if I can get it in frame, the range from engaged to disengaged was only a little wee bit like this. With this box in place, it utilizes the full range. So it's a little bit to get used to, but for someone like my wife who's learning still, it's great because it allows her to learn to slip the clutch a lot easier, because it's a lot less sensitive to small movements. So as a result, it's actually greatly improved her clutch skills, not just because it makes it so light to pull, but because it utilizes a larger range of the motion to do what it's supposed to do. Other than that, yeah, just the color. This one, the curvature, I couldn't do the wrap very well, so I just did a cheap paint job on it for now. I think the end goal, I was going to buy new plastics for it, and decided against it for this year because my plastics weren't in bad shape. They were just scuffed a lot. They weren't damaged or anything, but I'm thinking I may buy a new set of plastics at the end of the season. go to a gray or a black or something a little bit different anyways. So turned out okay. But what else? Yeah, bar risers. We got a 2-inch pivot riser here. So that in combination with the high rise bars, we're actually almost 3 inches taller than stock. Between that and the heavier spring, it's actually made this bike very rider friendly for adults. I know everybody, oh, keep your bike stock, your proper technique, blah, blah, blah. Well, really all we've done is open the cockpit up to the size of a full-size bike. So when we do buy a proper bike for Carolyn to learn, something with a better suspension, a little more power, a little more capable, rider position wise, other than the seat being a wee bit taller, it's going to feel very familiar to her. And that was kind of the goal with this. So again, I'm 6'2", and I am very comfortable on this bike. I can be up on the pegs and not feel like I'm hunched over. Like, I'm actually in better shape on this bike as far as bar height and ergonomics than I am my trials bike. The trials bike, the bars are like here. So, and that's, you know, comparing it to the foot pegs, obviously you have no seat to contend with on the trials bike, or at least when you do, it's that little wee half seat or trail seat that came with it, which I do make use of when I'm trail riding. So other than that, it's electric start only, which pretty much every Honda has gone that route. It's been a reliable bike. We've never really had an issue with it. We always run the good gas through it. Just longevity, it just makes sure that it starts a little easier and the gas lasts a little longer too. Like we finally put gas in it today. I don't think I'd put gas in it since October, and it was still starting and running great, but I finally had to put it on reserve last night. So anyways, fires right up. And again, once I'm up on the pegs on this bike, very comfortable. Very easy to ride. As a beginner bike, this thing has been fantastic for Carolyn. Pardon the sniffles here, a little bit of wind today, but yeah, sorry, aftermarket shifter on this thing as well, because the factory one was so close to the foot pegs, you almost had to take your foot off to be able to shift. It was meant for a kid, essentially, small feet. So no, it's been a good bike. More than happy with it. Somebody chewing up the trails here before we got. Yeah, that's not cool, by the way. When there's a trail that's been a certain way for a very long time, like a decade, don't come in and dig it and shovel it up just because you like the idea of a ramp. It's kind of a dick move if somebody shows up and the trail has changed and they're not expecting it, especially in a spot where kids ride. So whoever did that, if you happen to see it, stop it. All right. Yeah, so Carolyn was practicing. I'm sure she's going to post a video. She was practicing her hill recoveries today. So let's see, go up the big one here, kick it down. There we go. So again, small bike, 150, plenty of pep. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've done to this. I guess I took the baffle out of the back. Gives it a bit more bark. That wasn't the sole reason though. We had tried it just on a whim, and with this little wee bike and the small motor restricted the way it is, it actually made a difference in the pep. And with some of the stuff we've added, it's added a bit of weight. So adding that bit of pep, sorry, I could have gone up a gear there, but adding that little bit of pep has actually really woken this bike up, which you know, for a small trail bike, it's been good in that sense. So again, so that's our little review of the 2016 CRF150f. And yeah, if you're looking for something to buy, if you come across one of these old bikes, that's because they don't make these anymore. I think 2017 was the last year. But if you're looking for one of these old bikes and you're not sure whether or not it's the right bike for you, let me tell you flat out, regardless of age, size, whatever, you can definitely have some fun on this bike. So that being said, have a good one, folks. We'll talk to you some other time.